guys. What a way to enter the show, man. We got a lot of stuff coming at you tonight. For those of you who haven't heard us before, this is Dick Liberty, All Things American. You're tuning in with Dick and Dilly. We're two vets keeping it real, okay? We both served in the armed forces. I've served in 2 branches. Dilly served in 1, and we both served in the best one, the Marine Corps. So, hoorah! And speaking of the Marine Corps, I want to start tonight's show with something with Dilly because he's had some bad news and it's very unfortunate. So Dilly, you wanna bring everybody up to speed on what's going on?
Absolutely, it's always sad when you hear about your service members falling and ones that pass away, and then you hear of ones that are just die of natural causes and.
Yes.
Like last week we were talking about opioid. I can't remember
opioid epidemic, and we were talking
stuff.
about cannabis and hyperbolic treatments for all these things we were talking about were to give aid and assistance to this very similar situations that you're about to disclose. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's served with this Navy corpsman, old Frankie Vaughn, as we call him, old Doc Vaughn, and unfortunately he passed away 2 days ago from suicide by a police officer is what that's the preliminary stuff. But
wow, that's terrible.
And it sounds like he had some problems with some pills, some opioids. I'm assuming or guessing, family issues, and this sailor, or the undisclosed Marine as we call that.
Right.
The corpsmen, they're always the unsaid Marine.
Yes, they are, because they have to be able to function and be a part of both branches, even if they're only classified under one branch.
Yeah. It's just this guy here, this man, this sailor, this human being in my life. He has touched my life, and I know a bunch of my other Marine buddies that we've served together. Partied hard with him, and
right.
we even had the same barracks room for several deployments, and it was kind of like when you hear one of your own, just he definitely had some issues is what it sounds like and what
right.
it's going for. Whether or not I've had contact with him over the past several years, when you have Facebook and all the social media sites, you keep on top. You don't keep on top, but you see what these people are doing. These sailors, these Marines, or buddies that you've served with, and whether or not they are doing good, doing bad, whatever. Giving words of encouragement. Hopefully, it's better than hopefully, it's good, not bad, but
right.
in certain situations, and it just seems like this is one of them situations where I say drugs. And I throw that out there cautiously because we don't know what it could be, or it's just...
You don't know exactly how it transpired, but
yeah.
Like, was there behavioral differences that might suggest something, or do you just not know?
From what I read on his Facebook, he said he was leaving and he's going to Oklahoma. Married, had a wife of 18 years, 2 children, 2 boys that were...
Sounds like a suicide prevention class that you would normally go to for your quarterly training.
Yeah, so it's been, I literally just found this out 30 to 45 minutes ago, and I talked to 2 of my Marine buddies on the phone. That's why while you're up here prepping, I was down there talking to a couple of my Marine buddies where I've got the gouge from, and Facebook has been blowing up
right.
from all the interactions with what's going on, and so yeah, it's a very sad situation, and my heart is, it's definitely, it's bleeding for him, and it sucks. And I can say he was one of the, I can't say he was my best friend, but he was definitely better. He was one of the better friends. Let's put it that way. One of my better acquaintances from serving with and keeping in touch with our counterparts as when we serve. The article reads that they were on a high-speed chase for over 20 miles.
Wow.
The police officers did a pit maneuver on him.
Okay.
And he came out after the accident. He came out with a rifle. Of course, everybody's gonna blow up the AR-15 situation. Pointed at the officers. I don't care if it's an AR-15. I don't care if it's a bow and arrow,
Right.
Or a slingshot, or wrist rocket, whatever you want to call it.
You're showing an act of aggression on the officer. And
Yeah,
in you mentioned today's environment, and especially not just the environment, today's total climate overall, I think is like it breeds these situations. It manifests them, and they sit, and because we've talked about it many times, and we talk about everybody talks about it, and there doesn't seem to be as much action going through on everything. You know what I mean? So this is a sad casualty of that war.
Yeah, this is the effects of serving, whether you're on a combat tour or just simply being away from your family. This is simply a combat KIA to me.
Yeah.
And I feel no different otherwise. And you're still getting the volume still.
Are we getting a little volume feedback? Are we good?
So
I think we should be good now.
it's
Apologies.
But the overall, after talking, very briefly with my wholehearted brother Kelly Hempel, Gunny Hempel is still active duty. He raised the question as these cops are trained to do certain things, and why did, his first initial reaction is why?
What was his first thought to shoot?
Yeah.
Is what he was what sounds like
first thing I say to him is these police officers, and I support them 100%. I don't care if you are a combat veteran. I don't care if you are a convicted felon. I don't care if you are. If you get crashed by a police officer because of you're doing a high-speed chase, and if that's the end of it, that's fine. But then at the end of the day, if someone comes out pointing any kind of weapon at a police officer, you know the risk here. Everybody knows the risk, and his point behind it was he didn't shoot first. I'm like,
well, but he came out in a hostile stance with his weapon. What caliber, do you know the caliber of the weapon, or what did the article say the caliber of the weapon?
Supposedly it's AR-15, but
AR-15?
we don't,
that's a alleged weapon.
Yeah, the alleged weapon. So, but it's neither here nor there about the weapon. It's about the person, the interaction, and
yes,
and it's very disheartening and very sad that this man has put an IV in my arm, and he obviously had some troubling issues with family.
Right.
I'm guessing family issues. That's usually the hot topic of why people do certain things is with family.
That is true. A lot of it comes from family issues and that disconnection that we've talked about many times, and that feeling of isolations that we've talked about so many times too. And then half of the medications that you get put on isolate you even more. I.e. the opioids specifically, which is why I'm bringing it up, because this is something that it's all over the news. It's a different type of war. It's like one of the many wars that we have going on in this country right now.
One of the Facebook feeds I read from his own child was that, stop doing pills or I'll never take you back, and when I read that, that's
really discouraging.
And I didn't really think about it at that moment. I don't have his phone number, or I can sit here all day long, I could have done more, done more, but at the end of the day, it was, he knew what he was, I'm guessing he knew what he was doing, and it was just one of those situations where, I love him, but the results of your reactions are where you are now.
Yeah.
And his funeral's coming up, I think, within the next couple of days. I read the article briefly before I came upstairs to join the situation. So, my heartfelt condolences to his family, his wife, his two children. I've actually met his wife, super nice lady. And he kept his family on the low key. He always kept them on the low key, even when we were deployed. I mean, he always talked about them, but he never really
He kept the privacy and respect aspect of it.
Yeah, you know, like to me, I felt like he was a superstar because all these actors and actresses always keep their kids and their family members on the low key, and that's what he did, and that's cool.
Right.
I dig it. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do. I mean, it was very minimal interaction, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's how some people.
Yeah. So, and I hope my Marine buddies that served with us in the Bengal family of 224, BMFA 224, get the word out and let everybody know that hey, we lost one of our own due to whatever the actions that went down. So we need to send our condolences to that family at a minimum.
Yes, yeah, I send my condolences as well, even though I didn't know him, but still, he was a brother in arms. He did serve his country. You knew him very well, and
yeah, I did. We did.
I can feel your tension and the upsetness. I noticed as soon as you walked up today. So, thank you for sharing that with us, man.
Absolutely, you gotta.
Yeah. Well,
we gotta share we gotta share this what I feel in my gut instinct is this what the Trump administration has been hammering on over the past 3-4 months about this opioid epidemic.
Right.
And my gut feeling is telling me this is what the situation is. You know, I don't like to speculate, but usually our gut feeling is pretty right on and spot on when you
yes,
go,
it is.
especially when you know them personally and who they are. It's just one of those things. Especially when you read it, if you're smart enough to read it and interpret it, then you're probably pretty on point.
You can
know
put
how
the
it
two together for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, I'm glad you brought that up because tonight's topic, we kind of talked about it earlier. I came on and did a couple little inserts before we came live tonight. Tonight's topic, we're going to talk about the deep state. Okay, and this might be a topic you've heard of, or it might be a topic you're not aware of, and it's okay either way. I gave a disclaimer earlier today that the topic we're talking about, it is kind of one of those topics that can have somebody thrown under the bus. It is one of those conspiracy, Illuminati, whatever you want to call it, topics that people want to initially slam it with, but that's not the case, and we're not presenting or sitting here saying that we're right-wing extremist conspiracy. We just want to, it was an interesting article that I read about a guy named General Steve that led me to further investigate and get to this topic of deep state. So hopefully that puts it in context for you. All right, and to kind of further put it in context and start it off, the term deep state was defined in 2014 by Mike Lofgren, okay? I don't know if I posted his article or not, I think I did. He had a BuzzFeed article that I came across, and the quote that caught my attention was, he said, "We have a hybrid entity of public and private institutions ruling the country according to consistent patterns in season and out, connected to, but only intermittently controlled by the visible state whose leaders we choose." So I don't know why that resonated with me when I read that comment, but I was like, wow, that I see that. I see it.
After reading that and then listening to you talk about it, it keeps hitting further and further home with what we want to talk about tonight. And
right.
It's a little hard to understand when you first read it. Now that you read it out loud, it's like it's really starting to process.
Okay.
Yeah. So
this is a big topic, okay, and I kind of address that here. That quote resonated with me because when you look up the term deep state, and you'll see it's used in the U.S. within political science to describe influential decision makers who they can make their decisions and execute their agenda regardless of whose administration is in charge. So the administration can change all at once. Regardless, these decision makers can carry forth their long-term agenda. So when I looked it up and reading this quote, and then reading what he further goes on to say, he says, my analysis of this phenomenon is not an expose of a secret or conspiratorial cabal. The state within a state is hiding mostly in plain sight, and its operators mainly act in the light of day. He goes on to say that Trump's cabinet makes Bush's cabinet look like a Bosch Flick workers' council. Okay? Now, so
I couldn't agree more right now. That right there.
We've talked about that separately even before we brought this issue up. Okay. And by the way, our call lines are open. If you want to call, you see the number. It's been flashing. I'll transition to a different flash here. You'll see the call number will come up. And that council statement too. We talked about it in the context. For those of you who don't know, like the political aspect, a workers' council is a form of political and economic organization in which a single local administrative division, such as a municipality and or county, is governed by a council made up of temporary and instantly revocable delegates elected in the region's workplaces. Now, why does that resonate with you when you think of Trump?
I'm a normal American, so those are lots of big words. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I'm sorry about that.
But no, it's cool. But I want to connect with who's listening and let them understand that. AKJ, I see you just joined. You missed that I gave a shout out to Frankie Vaughn. Sorry to cut into that situation. That's what everybody's concerned with.
Much appropriate.
Thanks for sharing that on Facebook, by the way, buddy. Because and I know, and all of our Marine buddies, Bengal buddies, we served with him. This is a sad situation, but what goes on with what we just resonated with what you were just talking about is the Trump cabinet. It's just he, in my eyes, my opinion, after all those big political words, I'm going to break it down shotgun style on my terms, is that we have all these people, all these politicians that are in office.
Okay.
They're so heartily trying to take him out instead of trying to focus on what the real issues are here in America.
That is exactly why I brought this up. Yes. Because the deep state is defined as those who have been in the power. They don't like the person of Trump, so yes, they're trying to strip apart everything he's done.
He is not your typical politician that plays the role of, all right, let's talk about this. He is a businessman first, and then a politician, last.
Right.
And this is where his success and failures. He's going to have a lot of failures in the first couple of years.
He is.
I mean, granted, he's already had a bunch of successes. He's going to have a bunch of failures that go with it, and this is where I believe if the American people will simply be patient and sit back and look what he's doing. The hiring and firing and firing and hiring. You know what?
That's the part I want to talk about, because when we talk about this work council, like Trump, I gotta say, has maximized the efficiency of a work council. So when you have other authors referencing his work council, like a Bosch Flick workers council, he knows he can temporarily and instantly revoke any position he appoints.
Absolutely.
And I've talked to you about this before, to where I think he's strategically, much like Genghis Khan would say, religion is only quoted when it's needed to exercise the most power. Trump is manipulated and managed his cabinet as needed to have the most power or most impact in the quest that he's on, whether it's agreed with or disagreed with, the ones that are getting done.
Right now, unfortunately, he has more.
But I'm not saying it's all perfect, because I don't agree with everything, But I am saying I got to give him credit for what the way he is playing the game and the way he's manipulating and managing the game seems to be very effective.
And I know that we've talked about it. I am a 100% Trump supporter so far.
Right.
But that does not mean that I sit here and support everything he does at all.
Right.
Do I agree with the majority? Absolutely.
Okay.
Is there some things where he's, once again, I always throw back his Twitter account. I think that there's a little bit where he can actually shut his mouth a little bit and sit back and be a president. But
So we talked about the quote that caught my attention, and do you think that Trump is part of a hybrid entity of the public and private institution ruling the country?
absolutely, is he a hybrid? 100%. I mean,
Right.
he didn't make his billionaire lifestyle by just doing business. There had to be politics involved with that.
Negotiating and politics and things of that
Yeah,
nature.
I mean, by
consulting
politics,
is a key word, okay?
Yeah,
I
there
want
we
you guys
go.
to tune into the consulting
Yeah,
word
consulting,
here
there
as
we
we
go.
go through this episode. But you're absolutely right. He has been, he didn't just inherit $1 billion. He worked up. I mean, I've done some studying on Trump. I've read some of his books. I've listened to his audio books. I can't say that I learned a whole bunch of stuff. I can't say that I didn't learn anything, but I look at everything that's in front of me before I make a decision. I don't just take the opinion of what they say in the quotes on the book back,
the old saying from a gunny that I worked with that was one of my bosses as a Lance Corporal. He always told me after I went to go break big rocks and little rocks and lift telephone poles at Correctional Custody Unit after getting in trouble with the Marine Corps, and I came back, and this gunny resonated with me, and he always said, take the good from the good, or take the good and the bad from each individual person and put it together, and you'll make your own way.
Yeah.
Learn from everything. Don't just take the good. Just don't take the good. Make sure you take the bad and
you're
learn from that as
absolutely
well.
correct. You are absolutely correct. Because I had a similar first sergeant tell me the same thing in the Marine Corps. He said, you don't have to like the guy. You don't have to like him at all. You can want to smash his head in the fucking wall. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But you can take everything you don't like about him and put it in your toolbox so you know not to use it for when you're in that position.
And what was awesome about it is, what's up, Mr. McKay, Mr. James? Thanks for tuning in, buddy.
Hey guys, welcome to the show.
I don't know if you got the bad news yet, but you might want to read your Facebook feed of Doc Vaughn, man, because you served with him too. So, not trying to put out the sad news, but it's there, and I want to make light of it, and let's, we get the
Right.
appreciation that this veteran deserves. But I lost my train of thought there for a second because
You were just informing him on the news, but we were talking about Trump and his failures and his accomplishments.
Oh, that's where I was going. Is when I got back from 30 days of breaking big rocks into little rocks. It's called a MAUS. It's called a Marine Air Logistics Squadron. I was on the air wing side of the Marine Corps.
Right.
Well, anyway, that they really don't deploy a whole lot, and it's kind of like you're stuck there, and it's kind of
Right.
And so the gunny came up, the one I was just telling us, we had a discussion about, the one I really resonated with. He goes, and he always called me Dilly. Everybody always called me Dilly, no matter if Lance Corporal, PFC.
Didn't matter what rank.
No, it was always Dilly.
I think you owe him money, but was
Yeah. So he came up to me, he goes, Dilly, you want to deploy? I said, Gunny, I want to get the fuck out of here. That's what I do. I said it straight up like that to him. I said, Gunny, I want to fucking I'm sitting there stagnant. I'm going ape shit. This is why I'm getting in trouble,
Right.
And he goes, I'm going to send you to the squadron. I said, well, what the fuck is that? I didn't know.
You had no idea, right?
No, that's when and this is at F-18 base, and I said, wait a minute, F-18. That's what I always wanted to be an F-18 pilot. I was a Blue Angel enthusiast. I built model airplanes of that, and then I said, yeah, let's go out there. And I went over there, and Gunny Mason, Bear Mason is his nickname. He's a staff sergeant at the time. He just welcomed me with open arms. And of course, everybody gets a scoop. Oh, you're the Marine that went to CCU. I'm like, yeah, I am.
Right.
I said, I made a mistake, and yeah, oh yes, I did get that trouble. That was before I gave the squadron, buddy. So anyway, so we came.
Okay.
So I came over there, and I was there for about 6 months, and then I approached Gunny. I said, or actually Staff Sergeant Mason. I go, hey, Staff Sergeant. I said, I want to be a plane captain. He goes, but you're a GSE guy, ground support, but you don't do that kind of stuff. I said, I don't give a shit. I'll cross train. I'll do both jobs.
Right.
He
You
goes,
just want a chance.
yeah. He goes, and I was on night crew. Oh my God, we were on night crew. We were working from 3 p.m. till 10 o'clock in the morning. I mean, we didn't get no sleep for 6 straight months. And he goes, so you want to do both jobs? He goes, but you know,
Right.
your first job is taking care of the equipment that helps out the aircraft. I said,
Right.
you're fucking right, I do, Gunny. I said, I want to get up in that airplane. I want to sit in that seat. I want to launch these pilots out. I want to change the tires. I want to change that motor. He's like, he took a step back. He goes, okay. And I set the standard for my squadron.
Nice,
they go,
man.
he goes, we're going to train this guy, this GSE guy. Well, lo and behold, here now I am, a Lance Corporal. And my boss, because there's two of us, there's just two of us in the squadron. He's a corporal. He just got promoted to sergeant. I just got promoted to Lance Corporal. He was like, he goes there. He goes.
Those are the good old days, huh, Dilly?
Yeah. Old Sergeant Wahlberger goes, Dilly, you need to take care of this job first. I said, I'll do them both. He gets so mad at me. And
He's
guess
like,
what?
You're trying to show me up.
Yeah. In 2001, we went on our first deployment. And
Uh-huh.
guess who got to go on a lead crew? What they do is you have a main body that sends about 75% of the squadron, and you have the 12 jets. You have a lead crew gets there to when you're island hopping across the pond.
Right.
They get there, they catch the jets, they service them, wherever you're at, like Wake Island, Guam,
Right.
Hawaii, whatever. And then they have a trail crew. Well, guess what? Trail crew is the way to go because jets mysteriously break down. And so, yeah.
Yeah, right. You're
So
out there.
but I was on
Just
lead crew,
hanging
so
out.
we got stuck on Wake Island for like 10 days. I don't know if anybody knows what Wake Island is, but oh man, it's awesome.
I just remember the Footprint Island, Diego Garcia.
Yep, I've been there.
I've been there a few times. That
yep.
place is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty sweet.
It's sweet pictures.
But the moral of my story is that we got, I just because I was a PFC and I had a bad rap at first,
Right.
I went there and just did my thing and I just worked and I just showed them, and just like I do. You see me every day, and
Yeah.
you know I know we
Yeah.
got off a little track of where we're going, but my point is, the situations we have in America is if I, as a human being, can work hard at one thing at a time,
Right.
we can change things like I did in the squadron. Now these GSE guys, my buddy Gunny goes, you guys can't. When he was there in the squadron, he even said, he goes, hey, we had this Sergeant Dillingham come through here, and he was a GSE guy and a plane captain. What do you guys got to offer? And every time they got the GSE guys, they wouldn't do shit.
They would do a thing, huh?
No. So what I'm coming to is we got this President Trump. He's not your typical politician. He's your businessman. And we were talking about he hires and fires.
Right.
It's okay. Keep doing it until you find the right fit.
Okay. Okay.
Regardless of who it is, we got to keep doing what we're doing with him, or he's got to keep doing what he's doing, and keep pressing forward.
Right.
And
right.
that's where I find success is, I've been an electrician for 2 years now.
I think you're absolutely right that you do have to
Yep.
keep pressing forward. But we're talking about deep state, and we talk about how the president he's mastered the ability to manipulate both private industry and
Yeah.
public industry. Because whether you know or not, America is an industry.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta say, it's an industry. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be having trade wars and all this other stuff. Okay. He's mastered this to achieve his agenda. So it makes me think of the 10th Amendment, and I'm looking at it like, you know what the 10th Amendment does, right? It reinforces your principles of separations, the powers, and federalism, right?
Okay.
And it says the power is not granted to the federal government by the Constitution, nor prohibited to the states, are reserved to the states or the people. So if you had a master of private industry and corporations and the corporate industry and a master of the public industry, and we're essentially sitting on a, what would you call it, a corporatocracy?
Yeah, there we go.
That's a good word, right? Corporatocracy?
Yeah.
We're gonna add that to the dictionary.
We're gonna make it up, but that's all right.
Anyway, essentially an empire of corporations that are run by greedy Orlics who love war, not just across the pond war, because we have plenty of that going on. Not only
Absolutely.
conflicts that we're always talking about, Iraq and Iran, or Afghanistan, we have Iran denuclearization that's firing up again. Conveniently and ironically at the time of peace talks for North Korea and South Korea, Not really ironic, I said sarcastically.
Yeah. What?
Right, and then you have this long going war in Yemen. Who we have General Steve that I told you about, he used to be lieutenant colonel in the army. He got out of the army and he's all retired out of the army. Now he's a lieutenant or a major general in the United Arab Emirates Army, in their actual military, according to their website. So you have all this industrial complex going on, and you have an industrial master at the helm of the complex. And I'm going to switch to a quote because I want to go over this quote as we talk into this, so you can understand the context of what we're doing right now. All right, so we're going to go to this quote, and it says, almost 6 decades ago, President Eisenhower made a warning in his farewell address. In the councils of government, we must guard against acquisition, unwarranted influence. Neither parties, influence, whether sought or unsought by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous and misleading power exists and will persist. So, what do you think about that?
It's
Now, does that put everything into context, or is that just too much?
No, it's not too much. It definitely puts it in the context of why and how come and what for, what our country is going through right now.
Right.
And we have, the unorthodox president, as we call it, and he's really trying to get America back to where America should be and follow these engagements.
Right, I see that. So so we talked about this hybrid entity. Would that be considered like some kind of shadow government? Or do you think that's too crazy based off this article and the way it's been presented so far?
Well, I mean, it
And is there more than one of those shadow governments competing with one another? And then other things are going on in place?
If there's anybody competing against anybody, it would be against, it's the government itself trying to compete against Donald Trump.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
he's got, what person has the right mind or would do what he's doing? I take that back. He does have a right mind. He's a very smart individual. Whether you like it or not, he's a smart motherfucker.
Right.
But, gives up his billionaire lifestyle to take a, how much of a pay cut? Oh, wait a minute. We already know what the president makes, but to come and...
Yeah, but how much money does that put back in his pocket by doing that?
That is a good question. Supposedly you're not supposed to, but that's where you could say it could, which it will. Every president...
It's going to, because he's privatizing the VA. How quickly has he cycled through different members of the cabinet?
Oh, it seems like it's daily.
I feel like he's at a Rolodex cabinet. You know what I mean? So, I'm not saying he's not doing a bad job. What I'm getting at is, in all this competition and all these wars that we're having, the war in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq, we got the war on opioids, we got the war on drugs, we got the war on poverty, we got the war on homelessness, we got the war on, I don't know. There's a war on every damn thing you can think of in this country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which
will always be there.
Right. But then you have groups like out in Cali who are trying to do a Cali exit. What the hell is that about?
Well, these are... Oh, man.
You know what I mean? What is driving all this to where we have a whole state that wants to pull away from the country, supposedly?
Well, once again, it's the politicians that are trying to do... California is its own beast in itself.
Right.
I don't know if they have the most millionaires per capita. I don't know how that falls into place. But I don't understand, if you got this many millionaires over there, they're paying the highest taxes, or first or second in the nation. Why would you want to? I don't get California. I sit here and beat my head on the table like, why are you guys like this? Why are you guys like this? Why are your gun laws so strict? Why are you this and why are you that? It's like,
right. What do they think they'd accomplish by becoming their own country?
Well, apparently they think they're going to be they have their own money, I guess. They think they're going to have their own economic value that they think they can support themselves. I don't know. Maybe they can. Maybe they can't.
I mean, there's only one way I could think of that they could potentially support themselves.
Yeah. You think it's agriculturally?
Agriculturally, yeah. I think it is agriculturally, ironically. Yeah. He said sarcastically once again. Because, like, they kind of set the... Did they kind of set the lead and take the lead in that whole charge in the beginning?
I think so, yeah. We're talking about the medical marijuana stuff, and absolutely, I think they did.
And then I know that Georgia just signed into law that medical marijuana can be used to treat PTSD, thanks to an associate of ours. So I think that is one way that they could potentially, if they're actually thinking of a Calexit, following like the Brexit, to do it, that would be the only way they could do it. But all the other stuff that goes in play there, like the infrastructure, the maintenance, the fight the wildfires, for example, like that cost alone, how are they going to sustain it when I guess their main complaint was they're not getting money back from the federal government. And I think that's tied into other areas, like with FEMA, there's been an insurance non-payout thing from natural disasters.
I think their biggest fallback on the federal government is their sanctuary cities, and they're not following the federal laws. Just like there's other states that fall in there. I mean, but it just seems like the federal government keeps throwing so much money at these certain states.
Okay.
And it's just like, and it's not. I think we can put our money somewhere else other than in these sanctuary cities. And
right, I agree with you. Now, explain a little bit more about sanctuary city, because I may not be as familiar with it as you sound like you might be.
The sanctuary cities are where you have your illegal immigrants that can come into.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, like New York City is one of them. You got Sacramento, San Francisco, Chicago. They have the illegal immigrants that are there, and they say they get pulled over and they're notified as an illegal immigrant. They take them in. By the federal law, they are supposed to turn them over to ICE.
Okay.
So they can do background checks and send them back to wherever they came from. Well, these sanctuary cities, they harbor them and they keep them, and then they just release them, depending on whatever law they say they got a speeding ticket.
Did the growth of these? I mean, I don't know. We've done studies? I'm sure studies haven't done. Has the growth or the protection of these cities been any contribution to or had any influence on the drug trafficking and trade?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the majority of these illegals are bringing in the drugs. I mean, I'm just saying.
That's the coyote fee, right?
Yeah.
Basically.
And they're using it. I don't know what the term is where they use the illegals. The cartels are just sending them. However, they'll pay their families not millions. They'll take care of their families. But you just got to go and carry your 100 pounds of whatever drug it is on your body and go across the border. Whether if you get caught, you get caught. If you don't, you don't.
Right.
So
that's pretty crazy, man. And if I'm not mistaken, we had immigrants down at the border trying to get in that they were letting in.
These are the ones that are from Panama
and Salvador.
Yeah.
Honduras, I think it was, right?
Yeah. From Middle America,
Central America.
Yeah, Central America.
Yeah.
And they walked all the way through Mexico and.
Yeah, they came a long way, man.
They went a long way, and they just started processing last week. I'm like, why are we processing these? I don't understand if you don't have any kind of, God forbid, I know I've been to Mexico.
Right.
And coming back through the border, if I didn't have a military ID or any kind of ID saying that I'm a U.S. resident, guess what? I got to get processed.
Yes, you do.
Oh, man. And now they're processing these people. My question is, what's going to happen to them? I don't know what's going to happen to them.
No, I don't either.
Once they start processing, guess what? Now they're using our taxpayer dollars.
Oh. This is something that you've been wanting to talk about quite a bit.
Yeah, using our taxpayer dollars for free food, free. Ooh, now my gears are gonna get grinding.
Speaking of the taxpayer dollars, okay, and under this whole, we've been kind of jumping all over the place here under this topic, deep state, but
it's such a big one. That's why
it is a big topic, and there's so many different angles you can address with it. So you're bringing up the taxpayer dollars, and because you're a hardworking taxpaying citizen,
100%.
Do you think, because I had this idea today, I was like, man, you made a comment about welfare. And that was, I know it grinds my gears this week, that damn welfare, I'm going to talk about that. So I was sitting there, when I'm writing the whiteboard for the show, I was sitting there and I was like, I wonder if this would bring with Dilly. I was like, is welfare the American version of the way the Romans used to appease the mob?
Probably. I mean, yeah. I mean, I can see why and how come and what for. I mean, to shut them up and let them do their thing.
Right.
And that's what I feel like's going on with welfare. It's like it's over the past 2 years now that the administrations have changed, the welfare recipients have gone down,
okay.
and it's gotten better. Now it's getting better regulated, and that's
right.
That's great. But illegal immigrants shouldn't be able just to come into America and get free education. They can't just get free room and board. They can't get free this and free that. It's like, no.
Not illegals, no.
No, not illegals. I want to stress illegal immigrants. I don't care.
Illegal.
Yeah, you come up here illegally, you do your, and I know I could say it I couldn't even imagine how hard it is to get a green card from whatever country they're coming from. I'm sure it's a lengthy process. I haven't done any full research on
Half
that.
the governments don't even process the green cards to let them out of the country.
See, that's where I don't
that,
know
that,
how that
is a connected, syndicated network in a lot of different regions, from my understanding. And I've been through multiple countries in South America, and a bunch of different other places. But some of them, their system is way different and controlled with the money and majority of corruption and other things like that. It's all about survival down there. It's about the inequity is ridiculous, and how it's managed. So
I imagine. I mean, I understand the majority of these people that are trying to come into America illegally.
Right.
Want to do it legally, but they
don't have the means or ability to do it.
They don't have the funds. They don't have this. They don't have that. And this is where, when they're coming up, and the U.S. is processing them, like Donald Trump said the other day.
Right.
You have to earn your way into America. You just don't get to come to America and feel that you get everything.
That's true.
And if you want to come to America, I'm totally for it. You want to come here and live the American dream, is what we call it. That's fine, but you're going to earn it. You're not just going to walk up here and take my tax-paying dollars, your tax-paying dollars,
right.
My wife's tax-paying dollars, my children's tax-paying dollars. That's where it doesn't work that way with me.
Right. No.
And if anybody else believes otherwise, I'd like to sit down and have a talk with you. So let's talk about this.
You want to talk about this?
I'll debate it with you. Let's debate it and let's see what really. If you're okay with illegals coming up here, and okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Harbor them in your house.
We're being explicitly clear on illegal immigrants.
Yes.
And I want to clarify it a little further, because that doesn't imply that all illegal immigrants are bad.
No,
okay?
Absolutely not.
That's not what we're saying, because I think there's plenty of ones who, like we talked about, don't have the means, can't do it, but they try to make it happen. I know not all of them do. So it's like everything else we ever talk about. You got your 10% who makes it horrible for everyone else. So we got the war on immigration, we got war on drugs, we got all these wars going on, right? And I just want to mention the lines are open again still. It's 386-682-7278 if you want to call in. I know they've been flashing on the screen. If you have something to say or you're getting excited about this topic, feel free to call in 386-682-7278. So the immigrants, we have a big problem with that, and we're talking about the inequality of life because why else would someone want to come here? Why
Okay.
else would anyone want to come here?
They want to come up here because they know that their quality of life is going to be a billion times better than what they already have.
They're gonna have a great increase in quality of life, right?
As soon as they cross that border and start getting processed, their quality of life has changed.
Yeah, just on the emotional scale and the psychological scale, it's a monumental change. It's a change of great magnitude, you know. So, bringing up this inequality and the quality of people's lives, do you know what a genus is? Do you know the genus? What it is?
No, I don't. I mean, we talked about it briefly for a minute, and no, this was actually something that I wanted to hear about.
Okay. The genus is just another fancy word for inequality. That's what happens when you have 14 institutions that get together. Really smart dudes. Really smart dudes. All right. One of the institutions was Washington State, and they did a study and conducted this study on a global genus, the global inequality scale. And they found in 2016 that the global genus was roughly 81%. That means the global inequality scale, the scale of inequality across the globe in all these countries, is merely 81%. That's a pretty big number.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's an atrocious number to me.
If you look, you're familiar with history, I know you are, and you look at history, and their study basically compared inequality rates throughout pivotal points in history. And the higher the inequality rate in that history, the closer that part of civilization was to crumbling, having a state breakdown or basically a global breakdown in their environment. So this, basically, the study that they did to get the number 81% as a global genus said it means that the United States has one of the highest, and I quote, one of the highest levels of inequality in the history of the world. It's a fact that worries Kohler, professor of archaeology and evolutionary anthropology at Washington State. He was part of the ones who conducted this study and reviewed it. Highest level of inequality in the history of the world is 2 years ago, as of now. How crazy is that, man?
Well, I mean, I believe that. I mean, even though.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. That's totally believable.
And you see all this stuff that's going around in Africa, the slavery and what's going on there.
Right.
And sex trafficking and all the other stuff. I'm just
saying. I mean, all of that's going on here too.
Yep.
It's going on here too.
And it feels like it's not highlighted as much here as it is over the pond, is what we call it.
Yeah, across the pond. I agree with you. It's kind of like hey, look at my shiny object over here. Here's all your problems: the war on opioids, the war on child abuse, the war on CPS, the war on prostitution, the war on homelessness, the war on everything.
Yep.
Everything is a war. Everything is prefixed with war. So of course it's going to keep your attention diverted from the things that are going on.
Now, do you think that's because? See, this is one of the tough questions: is why? How come? And what for? It's like, why are the mainstream medias protecting everything else? I say protecting because they're showing everything else across the pond, but they're not throwing. They throw tidbits of little tidbits, but
little 15-second interviews or little 15-second mentions, and that's it about positive stuff, about good stuff, or about the bad stuff that's actually happening here. If I'm not mistaken, there's pretty good sex trafficking in the state of Florida. I know there's multiples. The opioid, that's another collateral damage, it's another casualty of war from the opioid crisis.
Sex trafficking coming from, I'm guessing from Cuba, Puerto Rico, all these Caribbean islands.
They're,
It's, I don't even know what the numbers could be. Nobody really can probably really understand the numbers.
No, not at all. But we have all these actions going on, and we're talking about them, but we're talking about just adding layers to the shit that's not working to keep people distracted on why it's not working. It's basically like this shiny thing here, and these agendas are keeping us gridlocked in the same perpetual state, while whoever's doing anything else is making off what they need.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What makes the biggest priority is probably the biggest question. We have to tackle, as the United States has to tackle, the largest priority. What would be the largest priority? That's the biggest question. What is the biggest priority?
I think one of the largest priorities is diminishing the inequality rate or the genus here in the United States. You know what I mean? Because if we don't do that, I think if the genus gets too high in this state, we're going to experiment another collapse. It's going to be, well, we might not experience a collapse. We might experience a revolution, because this is like a manifesting time right now that invites things like revolution or invites things like economic collapse. It's kind of like the housing and mortgage market collapsed. When was that? 2009 or 2008? I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, too far back.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing. That was a financial collapse, but people knew about it well ahead of time. They just didn't react to it. So how long do we let these situations sit and manifest? Do you feel like there is talk or, people wanting to start a revolution here in this country? I mean, aside from the crazy right-wing people.
I really haven't heard anything about that. I mean, if there's a revolution, I mean, we have these groups, the militias that are, in the mountains of North Dakota and South Dakota.
In more places than that.
Yeah, absolutely. that are notoriously
right.
The ones that aren't out there openly, but I don't think that I don't see a revolution unless.
Is that because you don't see it on TV?
Yeah, or the newspaper,
because maybe this revolution won't come on the TV.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's a revolution happening right now that's not on the TV, it's not in the press, but it's happening right now.
Yeah, could be.
I don't know. I'm just asking because when you like,
I think that's not even. I don't know. Asking is to me is bad. I think assuming it's okay to assume certain things, and I think this is one of them safe assumptions. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, I find your comment interesting about how you don't think there's a revolution or you don't feel there's a revolution or anything going on. And I made the comment about it's not going to be on TV. It's not going to be a revolution that you're going to be like, hey, after this commercial break, more things from the revolution, sponsored by Dilly Dilly Budweiser. It's not going to be that kind of thing. I think it's going to be more of a silent type of revolution until a time comes, if and when a time comes, that they feel it would be appropriate to lead this out.
The one that I can think of right off the top of my head that a revolution tried to start was Antifa.
Yeah. I mean, is Cali Exit a form or style of a revolution, Ruin?
What is it? I'm sorry.
The Cali Exit we talked about, where they're...
Oh, the California Exit?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is that a form or style?
That's absolutely a form of revolution.
So, like, what happens... How is that handled? How is that approached? I mean, granted, this might not be the most serious or well-connected guy, but he's speaking and things are put into motion in law. They're drafting a bill that's going before federal court. That's kind of like, because that's why I find your comment, I don't know if there's a revolution going on or there's potential, interesting, because it kind of talks about the inequality in and of itself, because different classes, different structures, different hood news that you're involved with. That's for you, Mr. Hood News. But different hood news, because your neighborhood is different than everyone, like you're not all the same as your friends. So yeah, different perspectives on seeing it like that. So how many are sitting with the same perspective that I don't see any of this happening because it's not on TV, that is happening right behind closed doors or right in plain sight?
Is there such thing as a positive revolution?
There is a positive revolution. That's probably why I feel inclined to bring it up, because if there is a revolution going on right now, I would hope that we could positively influence that for the good that we want, not make it into another war because we have enough of that shit going on in this country.
I was getting ready to tell you that I think we have a mini revolution between you and I trying to interact and get the positivity back in our communities.
Yeah.
Starting with, Hood News Global.
Right.
Look at us. A mini revolution of two biker-looking dudes rolling up in the hood.
Right.
And saying, hey, we want to be part of you guys. We want to help everybody. This is where I was asking about the positive revolution and not just a negative revolution.
Right. So, I mean, you're describing a positive revolution, yes. How do you maintain the traction on that revolution? The positive revolution?
Have we?
No, I said, what are you asking me with the positive revolution?
My question is there such thing as a positive and negative?